Okay, hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Hollywood Experience.
We're back.
Talk a little bit about our guest today because I'm so excited to bring her on. It's my friend Kelly Hu. She's adorable. She's fabulous. She doesn't age. She doesn't look like she's aged at all. She's got that amazing Polynesian skin. She's from Hawaii originally. A lot of you know who she is. She was on X-Men. She was on Arrow. She's done so much stuff. We can talk all about her after the interview that I'm going to bring you because Kelly's great. I love Kelly. I've known her for probably close to 20 years now, and it was just after Highlander that I met. We actually happened to have the same manager, and that's how we originally met. But we've always kept in contact. We almost worked on Arrow together, but we weren't there at the same time. So, but anyway, that was, and you know a little bit more about her stuff as well, David, don't you?
Oh yeah, I fell in love with her when, as you mentioned, X-Men. It was just when the superhero craze just started, movie craze anyway, and I saw that she was playing the character Lady Deathstrike, which is a notorious Wolverine villain. And when I saw her, she had a presence on screen. Let's say that she was a formidable foe for Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, and it was she did. I don't know if you know this. She had one line in the movie. It was all physical performance on her end. And it was just a very commanding performance. It was amazing. And then,
well, you're going to hear all about that.
You're going to hear all about it
in the interview. She talks all about it. So let's, without any further ado, let's go to Kelly Hu. I rhymed and I didn't know it. Okay, today I've got Kelly Hu on here. I can't believe it. She's looking fabulous as usual. Hello, Kel. How are you doing?
Oh, good. I miss you.
Oh, gosh, it's been so long, isn't it?
It has. How have you been? Have you had more kids since I've last spoken to you?
Yeah.
No, seriously?
I've got 3 now. Did you know that?
No! That was a joke.
No joke. This one's dope. I mean, he is really very cool. He's already
February. Like double sorting?
No, he's chill. He's not like my other one. My other one's kind of like, and he go. This one's a little bit. That's my daughter now, so I mean, you can see her. Oh.
I cannot. Oh wow! Good thing you know weapons.
She's growing. Yeah, people have said that actually, but my little one. I mean, okay, there's my little one.
Wait, I like it. Oh, look at that face! So cute.
And you see that smile? That's what I get in the morning. So any lousy morning, I go, I can't get out of bed. All I see is hi, and
that's
I'm like,
Alex.
Oh, okay. That's just no. What do you mean I'm not smiling?
She's the cute one.
Okay, all right. We'll give her that. We'll give her that. So Kelly, what have you been up to? I mean, gosh, we've known each other for. I've just thinking about this quite a while. We've known each other now, but we'll leave that. But what have you been up to lately? Because everybody's shut down in this pandemic at the moment, and
Well, I'm not filming.
Yeah, no. I mean, there are things beginning to happen. You don't want to film?
Well, things are happening, and I've been getting auditions for things and even offers, but I'm not ready. I'm not ready to be out there. I'm really, really. I'm that person. Like I'm agoraphobic now. Like I was a little agoraphobic before because I was raised by a mom who was a germaphobe, but like now it's just like I don't even want to leave the house. I order all my groceries in, I wipe everything down, I'm washing my hands still all the time. I only leave if I absolutely have to for like medication and business. I mean, I could kind of live like this for a while. I don't have that much of a problem with it. I know, because I don't have kids. If I had kids, I would be going nuts.
Yeah, well, trust me, like doing the whole homeschool, you got 2 kids on computers and a baby. It's a lot of work, especially with one boy who basically, it's taken us 3 weeks or 4 weeks to just get him to concentrate. I mean, it's so hard for kids to concentrate on a screen.
Home.
Yeah, he's just talking to a screen, so it's a totally different way of looking at things and
yeah, like
their energy,
I could read a book on a screen. You know how some people like have those iPads and they can read in like novels and everything. I cannot do that. I need it an actual book.
Hmm.
So I can imagine how hard it must be for a kid to be able to zone into a computer.
Well, I mean, the thing is, I think these days kids can zone in a lot easier because that's what they're growing up with. But the attention span to get the energy out is very hard for them to you can't do that. They need to run. You need to take them to, I take my kids to the park. My son's a soccer player, so and some martial arts. So I mean, he's, run is what I need. Get him in the pool, get him on, otherwise,
Do
it will.
you teach him the martial arts?
No, he had a school because it was. I wanted to wait. My wife wanted it. He's not gone lately because of the pandemic. But prior, he was doing more like a taekwondo type of thing because it was all about discipline and respect, and that to me was more than what the martial art was about. I always say, later on, try this one and try this one. Sword he does. Sword he does. I mean, he knows my system. He knows most of my system now. So he's. I'm going to be teaching him a little bit more, but it's just the time.
How old is he?
He's 8, just turned 8.
Oh,
So
now's a good time.
yeah, now's a good time to start. Yeah, it really is. The same with his soccer, and he's starting tennis now as well as my daughter is.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but
Of course, your kids are super active.
yeah, I mean they are actually. My young one, the baby, is a little underweight, but he's tall. And the pediatrician just said, "You guys are just breeding athletes, aren't you?" I'm like, I don't know. It'd be great, because I think athletes, they have. I mean, you've got great. Not that you would not want their minds to be active, but you want them physically to be active, because I think the whole spirit has to be, it whole mind, body, spirit, the whole,
Absolutely.
Let's get on to you, because I want to talk about you, because this is about Kelly Hooper.
I want to talk about you. I want to know about you.
We'll talk about that later. But how did you start in acting? Let's just start with that. And how did you start the martial arts and the action stuff? What started you off in that?
Well, that's two separate questions, right? Acting and
Yeah.
action.
Yeah.
The acting, I mean, I think I was born sort of just wanting a lot of attention and being on stage. And, like my mom said, even when I was a toddler, she said everything was a stage to me. And I would make everything into a show. And she said I would even go to I guess my neighbor, I don't even remember this, but my neighbor had a landing on their steps in front of their house that felt to me like a stage. So I would go there and I would just start dancing and singing. And I was just a toddler, so I didn't really know full songs and stuff like that. But I would make up shows, and I just always wanted to be in front of people. And I was so desperate to be noticed that when I was in the 4th grade, I signed up for the talent show, and my mom was like, "What are you going to do?" And I was like, "Tap." And she's like, "Okay." And I stood there and I did my little tap thingy and, all dressed up and everything. And I loved it. And then we had our little plays and stuff. And I just loved performing. So I want to say I was born acting. I didn't actually get paid to do it until my very first SAG job, I guess.
Was that Melia? Or
Sorry?
Melia in Growing Pains?
You looked me up. I was about to be really impressed, and then I saw your eyes, and I was like, "Oh, hey, listen, you just saw that."
I got to look at all your stuff. I got to look at all your stuff.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, over 30 years. Yeah, I've been doing this over 30 years.
Yeah, so have I. Yeah. So I mean, but that was one thing. So you got taken into that. I mean, you got yourself an agent, and you started. Did you come to Hollywood first, or was it from Hawaii?
Well, I got my first job when I was still living in Hawaii. So I got cast on that Growing Pains episode when the Seavers come to Hawaii on vacation, and Kirk Cameron has this love interest, and they apparently had cast all over the United States. I had just joined SAG, literally just before that, because of the commercials and stuff that I had done. And they had opened it up to casting in Hawaii after they couldn't find their person on the mainland, which I don't know why they wouldn't just opened it up to Hawaii in the first place. And then I got cast to do that, and then that was my first real SAG job. And then I moved to Los Angeles. Between filming and airtime, there was like I don't know, maybe a month or maybe a little bit longer, even, because it was a 2-part season premiere. And I literally packed up my bags after shooting and I moved to Los Angeles before the show even aired. And I didn't have any agents or anything there. I had no representation up there. And I took out a full-page ad in Variety the day that the show aired, announcing that I was now available for West Coast representation.
That was very industrious of you, that was.
It was stupid because I was 18 years old. I had no idea of what I was really doing, but I was like, if I'm coming to Los Angeles, I'm going to, make a big
everybody
splash.
Know.
Everybody's going to know. Like anybody cared. But I saw Variety and I saw like all these little ads that people would take out for when they had guest starring, roles and stuff.
Right.
And I thought, well, nobody's going to see that. If I'm going to take out any ad, I'm going to invest my Miss Teen USA money and take out a full page ad. And it worked. I got like 20 calls from agents before the show even aired. Who is this girl?
Yeah, exactly. No, that was a smart move.
But also, it was at a time when there were no other Asian actresses.
Right.
It was very, very limited. And so everybody wanted to have like the token Asian on their roster.
Right.
So, and I was 18. I was young, moldable, supposedly
moldable. You're never mold, Kelly. You've never been moldable since I've met you. So like ever. That's the last thing you are is moldable.
I'm a lost cause. Lost cause. I know. I'm even worse now that I'm old.
You're not old. You look like you're 20. I swear. You look awesome. Hair. It's the pink hair. Banging doors all the time and not getting all the bad vibes outside. So what? How did you? I mean, so after that, you went through what, a whole process of doing regular TV shows, a lot of TV shows.
I actually spent the first 10 years doing commercials and modeling and guest starring roles and little bits in films. I mean, I didn't get my first regular gig until Sunset Beach. And that was like 10 years later.
Yeah, so that was in 1997.
Is that what it says?
Yeah, 1997.
Yeah, so it was like 10 years later. And I was very happy, I have to say. I had, it wasn't as though those 10 years were a struggle. I made a really good living just modeling and doing lots. Those were the days when you could actually make money on commercials.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I didn't really do very many commercials. I wasn't into that.
No,
I mean, I did.
They were looking for like some guy who could like fight and do swords.
No,
like,
the funny thing. No,
type.
But no, I'm not the commercial type.
No.
But the I can't stand there going, "Hi, buy cheese." It doesn't work for me.
I was the Philadelphia cream cheese girl in Italy.
In Italy, they must have loved you. They love you in Italy.
I actually had to like speak Italian with a Japanese accent. It was so funny because I was like, I played a Japanese exchange student, and there was like a whole storyline that went along with my character, and it was the first time that they had ever had something like that in Italy, where like there was like a person associated with the product, and so it became like this phenomenon, and these commercials ran for like 7 years, and whenever I would go to Italy, people would think that I was actually the character. And it was so much to the point where I was actually dating an Italian guy at one point, and I went to Italy to meet his family, and they could not get my name. They kept calling me by the name Kaori, which was the character's name. The cream cheese commercials.
People have a hard time a lot of the time separating the two. I had it a lot while I was doing Highlander. I'd be called Duncan all the time, and I'm like, just
because you kind of look like a Duncan. No?
Okay, then I'm not so sure about
No, but you do. I get it.
Like a Duncan.
No, but it's great because people really, that means people just, they buy it, right? That they're really invested in that character.
Mm.
I think that's a good sign.
When did you start doing martial arts or action in movies?
That was the second part. When I was a kid, my brother used to do kung fu, like on Saturday mornings, I got sent off to go do ballet and he got sent off to go do kung fu. And I would meet up with him in the afternoon and he would show me like all his moves. And, he set up like fights with the neighborhood boys and things like that. I had an older brother, so I knew how to fight a lot. I was like, like constantly trying to like survive him. He was 4 years older.
Right.
But I didn't actually start taking real martial arts classes until I was in my late 20s.
Really? Until what?
I think about the time that I started Sunset Beach.
Right.
And it was only because I had a roommate who was getting her black belt. She asked me to come to her black belt ceremony. And I remember sitting there watching the whole ceremony and watching them do all of these katas and kumite. And I just I was in awe. I remember watching the whole ceremony and watching all the katas and everything. And I was crying. It touched me in such a way that I was like, I just knew that I had to do this. And so like that week I went to my first class and met with her karate instructor, who ended up being, a lifelong, friend and teacher of mine. Mm-hmm. Love him to this day. I absolutely adore him.
When was the last time you actually started really doing any practice?
Oh, Jesus.
It takes a while back, doesn't it? Yeah, it takes forever. It suddenly goes away.
I would get so injured right now. I can't even think of going back into doing that. I get injured carrying boxes.
Was it? You went into martial law, right? Did you do any martial arts in that? I would imagine you did.
Yeah, every episode. I had like 2 fights every episode.
And what was it like for you back then, for instance, when you had to do fighting? Was it, you get the stunt girl and you come in and do a couple of close-ups, or did they say, no, go and we want you to do it?
I got to do a lot of it. I got to do a lot of my own stuff. The only time that it was really difficult for me to do my own was when we had 2 separate units filming at the same time, because we had a lot of that. Because there was so much, how hard it is to shoot action. Yeah. I mean, they never schedule enough time in the day to shoot action. They always think it's going to go so much faster, and it never does. So, and this show was all about martial arts, right? Because we had Sammo Hung, who was, Jackie Chan's big brother. And it was like, he was incredible and he could shoot like this. But the setups and stuff, it just took forever. And anyway, so it got to the point where pretty regularly they always had 2 separate units going at the same time. One where, you were filming all of the scenes with the director that had, the acting, and then another unit of just like fighting, the fight unit. And so there was a lot of times when, they were on different sets, or, just you couldn't, but there were times when you had to go back and forth between each set, and you were, fighting and full of sweat and having to come back and shoot like the other scenes, and they'd be like, powdering you down and changing your clothes, and you had to shoot your scene there, and then you'd get back onto the action set and you'd put on your sweaty clothes and like finish up I mean, it was ridiculous. It was so difficult, but was that the most fun I'd ever done.
Was that the first time you really had that much action to do?
Yeah. Well, that was my second series. The first series was Nash Bridges, which I got right after I got fired from Sunset Beach. Let me tell you, I have a new respect for soap opera actors. The amount of dialogue that you have to memorize.
That is true.
Ridiculous. And it's never good dialogue, because they write a 1-hour show a day. And so, it's just like when you're on a regular show, you're like 8 days, right, of 1 hour to film a 1-hour show, 8 working days.
7, 8, yeah.
7 or 8 days. Yeah. Whereas on a soap opera, you're doing literally 1 hour a day. So you're memorizing like 30 pages of dialogue a day. I would never want to do that job again. It's
No,
so
it's a
crazy.
hard thing to do. We had a little bit of a similar
And then I played a
thing, but
doctor, so I had all of this crazy, like medical jargon, and this was pre-internet, so I couldn't look things up when they were misspelt, or even, like I had a medical dictionary, and I was like always trying to look things up, and they were always misspelling things because they were writing things so quickly. I could never like figure it out until I got to the set. But anyway, so before that, I was on, right after I got fired from Sunset Beach, I did Nash Bridges, which was actiony, and they gave me a lot of fun stuff to do there. But martial law was like every episode you were fighting, and
what do you think's
people
the
just
hardest?
love seeing girls kick ass.
What do you think was the hardest thing for you to do when you were doing that? Was it the dialogue, the character intonations of the martial art, or did you not bother about that? What was the
Of the actual fights.
yeah? Whenever you were dealing with action oriented scenes, what was that? Because a lot of time there's dialogue in the scenes, and then there's knowing your location, and with us it was about weapons, so knowing the weapon in the location was different. So it's a slightly different thing than just the fighting stuff. And so was there anything there that was tough for you to do?
uh it was just tough learning the different choreography every day that you had to fight, you know um uh
Do you think it's
and
different today?
sorry.
Do you think it's different today? Has it evolved? Has it digressed the way that action is handled?
Well, we were working with the Hong Kong guys. Samo brought his
That's
team
why it was fast.
from Hong
That's why it
Kong.
was fast.
Exactly. And it
Yeah.
was it was much faster. Their way of moving was a lot faster. Their cuts were a lot faster.
Yeah.
Their choreography was just a lot faster. And so it was a really high bar for me to have to, try to reach every week with that. And not having that much experience as a fighter, I had only just started uh my karate like a few years before, and I had been working, so I hadn't had a lot of time to be practicing, in between. um so it was really a challenge. I think the hardest part about doing the fights was making it look real, you know making it, because it was also comedy, and so sometimes you're beating a guy up with a fish, or like or whatever was like there for you to. And so there was like comedy as well as fighting, and it was, it, comedy in itself is a challenge, but when you're trying to do comedy within like martial arts choreography, that's even harder, I
What
mean.
what happened when you went to X-Men? That was that. I mean, obviously that was a
Oh,
larger
that was such a
production.
luxury. That was
Because
such a luxury.
you're sitting around
Because
doing hardly anything at
huge
the.
budget, right? Huge budget. How many weeks are you filming? And I actually got to rehearse the fight before filming it, which was a huge luxury right then and there. There was like that whole fight with Hugh Jackman that was all choreographed and rehearsed before I even got there. Um, it was, and then I had like weeks to work with them, and I got to practice actually being on wires instead of just showing up and getting, like hooked to wires and then like yanked up, and you're like, whoa, like, what that's like.
Yeah, I've landed on my
Um,
head from a
oh,
bad wire gag, so that wasn't fun.
oh, wires are
Yeah, they
dangerous.
can be. I've done
Yeah,
a little bit of wire, but not a huge amount.
yeah,
But
because you're depending a lot on these guys.
correct.
You have no control, no control
Yeah.
of your own, even especially with your landing.
Yeah, it's like somebody throwing you up in the air, and basically you have no control on the gravity that's taking you down. They do. So if they're out of sync a little bit,
Yeah,
you're kind
yeah.
of screwed.
There are a lot of times when they're like letting me down, and I just tuck my legs up because I'm like, I didn't want to hit the ground too hard. It's yeah, it's
Did you rehearse with a stunt when you said you had a lot of rehearsals? Did you with Hugh Jackman? Did you rehearse with him first, or did you?